The Indian Prime Minister visited the United Arab Emirates. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and all between the binary. This is Get Informed with Wajeeh. I'm Wajeeh Lion. Thank you so much for tuning in today. Hopefully, much calmer episode. The Indian Prime Minister has visited the United Arab Emirates and is currently in the UAE. Breaking news in case you don't know. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. We are waiting on everyone to join us. This, for U.S. citizens, I need to inform you that if your state is a state that elects their Supreme Court judges, this is the year for you to make a change and vote for the judges that you want to elect. Unfortunately, the 14 or 15 states that allow people to vote for their Supreme Court judges, the judges haven't changed in the last 14 years, or they all have run uncontested. And many of those judges do not respect our rules, or they're disconnected from the rest of society, or they have been appointed by people who no longer represent us. Uh, so this election, a lot of judges are, facing, for the first time, there are some people running against these judges for the Supreme Court position. In some of these states, I don't have those states memorized, but I strongly recommend you taking a look at whether you're voting for a Supreme Court judge. And if someone is running uncontested, maybe you should see if we could nominate someone for that, or if it's too late, I understand. But it's just one of those things that are worth being on your radar as a voter in the United States. Yesterday, I also said one of the other things that you could do in the US to make sure that you are able to uh, make the right vote, or be better informed, is nominating people that it's this is the time for action. Nominating people or running for office yourself. This is very important. This is your way of doing checks and balances in the U.S. What's happening in Minnesota? Prosecution of the ICE officer who assassinated a two. I don't have all the information regarding that, but I can ask around about it. I've been focused solely on the Middle East, that I haven't had a chance to take a look at the other thing. Um, but we can take a look into that at some point. Questions. Did Xi and China actually provide anything that will help Trump declare victory and stop the war? No, absolutely nothing. And apparently, Rubio according to him, he says that the United States did not ask China's help because they don't need it. Not my saying. The world is going to. Someone is saying, "What do you think the end will look like when this war is over? Will the world be driven to renewable?" I would say there is a good chance. A lot of people are looking into renewable. A lot of people are hurting. And when you are hurting, you're definitely going to look for different solutions, including renewable energy. The problem with renewable energy at the moment is that you're not 100% sure if it's renewable or not. When someone tells you this car is green gas or electric, I see Amazon electric trucks in the US are, using diesel generating plan to charge up the electric trucks. So what's the point? There needs to be, a comprehensive review of renewable energy. A lot of renewable energy at the moment is sold as renewable energy because there's a good market for it at the moment. We just have to be better informed, better educated when we're talking about renewable energy. And unfortunately, the situation is that you are not sure what is renewable and what is not, especially when a card tells you, "Oh, this is renewable." Do you have do you have uh, the things that you can rely on without hurting the environment with renewable energy is definitely solar plants. Um, Especially if every home puts a solar plant on top of its building. Every apartment building does that. If every tower does that, we make small differences. The problem with windmills is they kill a lot of birds. Unfortunately, birds don't see those winds flying and they do get hit. Um, but there is also you can leverage the ocean water waves into renewable energy. There's a billion way to do renewable energy. Um, but just finding the right tools for the right situation is essential, and people need to start, getting informed and educated about that. I am not an expert on that, but I'm trying to learn. I come from Saudi Arabia where oil is cheaper than water. I'm sorry, but your experience with the flaky Substack, why are we giving payouts to January 6th riders? Are ships, especially ships to China, getting through the Strait of Hormuz? If they are related to the IRGC, yes, no ship has passed the Strait of Hormuz in the last 24 hours. That is not related to the IRGC. Can you elaborate on known Iran investments in the UAE and Saudi Arabia? Well, a lot of people don't understand is Iran is the breadbasket of the Middle East. Most of the Middle East gets their fruits and vegetables and nuts from Iran. Whether they have good relationship with Iran or not, they need Iran for their food basket. And so that at least is there. UAE had money laundering operations inside UAE that was operated by the Iranian government. Saudi Arabia, Iran investments was closed for a while. Now is opened back a little bit before the war, and might be closed again if this continues. But that's the type of investments, mostly food. What is the status of the desalination plants, and do you see these being attacked? The status of the desalination plant is back to operation in most of these countries. They are a vital point, and Iran will definitely use them if Iran gets hit in its critical infrastructure. So UAE, you can see that they're starting to build fences, drone fences around some of their oil tankers, and you'll start seeing Saudi Arabia do the same thing in other Gulf states. Maybe we might see the same thing happen with water desalination plants. But what happened when you send like 100 or 200 or 300 unmanned drones to reach just one of those plants? Your radar system gets uh, jammed. You're not able to get to all of those uh, drones, and those drones end up reaching one after the other, hitting through the fences until they explode through it. It happens. Tell us about illegal operations. What illegal operations? Did Trump bring any oil executive to China? Not in my knowledge, but he did bring a lot of U.S. businessmen, mostly uh, mostly tech CEOs, mostly tech CEOs. Those illegal operations in the UAE are in after Switzerland ended their illegal work with money laundering, everything moved to the UAE. Whether it was Russia, China, Iran, UAE has a financial system where you can do money laundering, where you can do shady economics and get away with it. A lot of people who are fleeing their own governmental prosecutions flee to the UAE because UAE does not have any extraditional laws. Uh, yeah, that happens. Someone says, I've heard that there is internal conflict or dissent in the UAE. Have you heard anything about that? UAE is a very oppressive regime. If there was any, they would be thrown into political prisons right away and be shut down. That type of dissent is not welcome in the United Arab Emirates. And they have their own political prisons that is away from public eye, and they do have political prisoners. So it's a very dangerous thing to have any dissent. There might be some. What could also be happening is that you have 7 states, and each state is run by a different family. They are just different families that have united to create one big one a bigger country. So there is a difference in ideology. There is a difference in viewpoints, especially in the United Arab Emirates. But everyone usually follows the Sharjah, no, Abu Dhabi. Sorry, everyone follows Abu Dhabi. I don't know why I said Sharjah. Everyone follows Abu Dhabi, um, the capital of the UAE. Even if there's dissent, they have to be united. Does someone is asking if Russia has any presence in Saudi Arabia? Saudi Arabia has military deals and some financial and economic deals with Russia. That's the type of presence that they have with the Russian government. Putin and MBS get along very well. There might be some joint trainings here and there, but it's nothing more serious than that. Someone's saying I'm hearing a lot of concerning news that Saudi Arabia is getting a little bit more involved. That is reporting on previous involvement. They might be also getting ready to get involved in the attack if the actions resume. They might be getting ready to get involved is if the United States goes back to war and leaves the Saudi government without any uh, choice. If Iran starts attacking Saudi Arabia, Saudi Arabia might be forced to go back into war. So that is very possible. And the Saudi soldiers that I've been talking to, even if they're not on the battlefield or they're meant to like protect the homeland, they all are working extra hours and they're all working, full shifts, constant shifts, repeated shifts. Um, Everyone is on high alert, even though that they are kind of in a bubble regarding the rest of the globe. Um, could you explain what atrocities you're talking about in your question so I can answer that question? Yeah, there might be someone saying, sorry, I meant the seven families. The seven families might have disagreements, especially about the UAE relations, the ongoing UAE relations with Israel and the war. So you could see some families are already like getting exhausted from this war and don't want the Israeli relations. And I'm kind of feel betrayed that Netanyahu has visited UAE secretly and how they did all of that type of shit. My shoulder's, healing slowly but surely. It's in a lot of pain here and there, but we're taking care of it. Um, Malcolm is correct, by the way. We have been noticing not a lot of people have been getting interested recently, which is fine. But means your support now counts more than ever. Please destroy that heart button on the bottom right and share the space with your friends and family, especially if you like this type of content. It tells the algorithm that you like to see this more and invites other people to join us and learn more about the Middle East. I think I will write an article about the Saudi Pakistani security alliances, so we can talk about that soon. Also, Malcolm mentioned that the United States went and begged Ukraine for them to sell their software for defense system to Saudi Arabia. And I'm kind of interested in investigating that a little bit to see who went there and how it happened. So I was saying, tell me more about the UAE Saudi relationship. That relationship has, been rocky over the years. The thing about Saudi Arabia as the biggest country between the Gulf states, that it thinks of itself as the big brother, even though it's not necessarily the big brother. Um, and it also view itself as everyone else in the Gulf states should follow its lead. That didn't go too well with the rest of the Gulf states over the years. They kind of let it go, let you know, let it let it go on for a while until they got sick of it. And now they're like each of the Gulf states is kind of taking its own choices and own decisions, except for Bahrain, for example, because it's such a small city almost. It's a small. It's not even. It's a country in the size of, is in the size of a city, smaller than Qatar, and they're fully dependent on Saudi Arabia. So you could basically say they're the ones that mostly fall under the Saudi umbrella. Everyone else wants more sovereignty, right, and wants to make their own decisions. That went into direct conflict between Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates when they were in Oman is basically the Switzerland. They don't do anything. They don't want to be in conflict with anyone. They don't even get within the conflict within the Gulf states. Um, so that relationship clashed to when originally so Saudi Arabia asked the United Arab Emirates to help its government to join the war in Yemen and kill the Houthis. But as years went, the political alignment of the Saudi government in Yemen and the political alignment of the United Arab government in Yemen also have changed to the point where Saudi Arabia militarily struck one of the UAE shipments that was going to uh, Al Houthis, I believe, and the United Arab Emirates, and that basically put a very big wedge in the Saudi Emirati relations. Does Oman matter? It does matter. It's a very strategic country in the region. They don't have that big of a military. Their military is no more than 50,000 soldiers. Um, they're a small country. They have most of its oil exports go to China. Uh, but most of the time they like to do the peace talks. What actions are actions you think average Americans can do to improve our circumstances? Yes, make voting mandatory. It's not a popular opinion, but I think your low voting turnout. Someone is asking about the atrocities and whether there's something immediate we could do about it. After World War II in the United Nations, they came together and they said never again. And Rwanda happened and we did nothing about it. We said never again. And Gaza happened over and over and over and over again. Nothing happened. Myanmar massacres and genocide also happened. Nothing happened. Um, there's Duterte, which is the Philippines president who basically massacred drug addicts in his country. Is going to international court. Very few people who are not that privileged face the international court. Netanyahu is supposed to face the international court, but when he visits other countries, they don't arrest him or send him to that court. China has international crimes, and no one is going to court. The international court so far is almost a joke. The United Nations was purposely designed not to have any teeth. Where someone says the United Nations needs teeth, it was purposely designed not to have any teeth. It was designed so it would be very, very hard for these countries to demand some changes from any other country or demand legal binding treaties. And unfortunately, that's not how it was designed. It was designed just to have communication, mostly. Mostly, that's what it was for. The only thing that is binding is the EU. You want to make the UN like more like the EU, you have more like a global uh, country. But at the moment, everything is limited by the UN National Security Council, and that council anyone can veto, and if it veto, it all falls apart. Yesterday, Macron was coming out and says that Africa should have its own permanent member seat in that council, and thinks that there should be some binding laws about that. That is different for the first time that we hear something from a president, especially a Western president. We'll see what happens. I don't think it's going to happen, or I don't think any of these changes will happen anytime soon. Yeah, Thomas saying like, what immediate changes do you want to see? Let me like, it's not what I want to see, because what I want is not what the American people need. The American people need change. The American people need stability. The American people need to get educated, and the government is purposely cutting all of the funding from these type of services away from them. But what is happening, instead of these groups realizing it's a classist move, they're blaming each other. They're blaming the right and the left. What you need to happen is the right and the left need to come together and work together against the classist level. You need to stop your polarization. What you need is a united state that is united by the people. Our way of canceling culture, whether it's right or left, needs to end. The idea that you made a mistake and you need to pay it for the rest of your life is a wrong strategy to fixing mistakes. That's not how we teach kids. That's not how we teach people to fix their behaviors. You see someone doing something wrong. We saw that study says that if you see someone doing something wrong and you tell them, listen, I know you're a good person. I've seen you do amazing things. I know you're better than this. I'm disappointed in your behavior. We expect you to do this and this and that. We will this is your limited punishment that you will be kicked out of this platform this for this amount of period. You should go to classes and get educated and come back after you get some information so you can be better informed, so you can be a better member of society. We should empower people to become better, that rather than kicking them out of the society. Kicking them out of society only makes them more extreme, only makes them want to commit terrorist attacks. When you study anti-terrorism, the first thing that you learn is terrorist attacks happen by all classes of society. You don't need to be rich. You don't need to be poor. You don't need to be educated. You don't need to be ignorant. Wait a minute. What the fuck are you talking about, Wajeeh? Yes, Osama bin Laden was a billionaire, came from a very educated family. He did not have political representation, which made him a terrorist. Not having your political representation is what's causing your polarization. Not having your economic equality is what's causing your polarization. Once you understand the cause, you understand the symptoms. The cause is no representation. The cause is horrible economy. The situation is people are choking each other over what's left of the crumbs that's falling from the billionaires. We need to take a step back, re-strategize how we look at our society, understand that there are so many people in pain, whether they're white, black, you know, Asian, Middle Eastern. So many people are struggling at the moment. Most Americans, regardless of what political party they're in, they're paycheck to paycheck. If they miss one or two paychecks away, they become homeless. You increase homelessness in the United States is increasing the crime rates. They're connected to each other. The more ways you create stability and network to catch people from falling, the better it is for your society. You have less drug overdoses. You have less drugs, less people getting drug addicted. You have less people going to crime. You have less people going, even if you deal with racist people can get educated and learn how to be better. Even sexist people can be taught how to be better. Like, if you, the problem is here, I'm talking away from sexists and rapists, okay? Or no, not rapists, or sexist and racist, excuse me. Sexist and racist is a type of person. But few days ago, someone who got fired, and I was part of I support Black Lives Matter. I'm someone who is liberal. I'm someone that is against racism. I have faced racism personally. I have been, I understand what it goes through, but I don't understand slavery. No, I don't understand. What I understand is that one person who's racist, who wrote a couple racist comments, got fired because we demanded that a lot of people lose their jobs. And after they lost their jobs, what they ended up is they created their own more extremist coalitions, and it ended up doing more extremist actions. And yesterday or 2 days ago, a guy resulted in a white racist guy, I forgot his name, that walks around shouting slurs at black people, shot another two black people and got arrested. If we treated that person differently, if we told the company, don't fire him, but send him to a class, force him to go to a class where he can understand that what he ever did is not okay, and this could be improved, and this could rehabilitate people. Do not destroy them. When you destroy them, you destroy your society. When you destroy them, you destroy the future, even if they are wrong. Saudi Arabia, they realized that the way they dealt with the terrorists after they sent them to Afghanistan was so wrong. They did a rehabilitation program. You're an extremist? Okay, okay, we understand. We understand. Let's take you to the school. We'll get you funding. We'll get you rehabilitated. We get you to understand the history. We get you to understand what's going on. We are so wrong to mistreat you this way. And they got them married. They helped them get housing. These people became they disconnected all the relationship with terrorism. Racism, sexism is the start. If you don't treat it right, you make it worse. Counseling people hasn't helped. We've lost so many good liberals because we counseled them and didn't want to rehabilitate them and improve them and say, we are disappointed in this action and that action. We thought you are much better. Can you learn from your mistakes? Ellen DeGeneres is a good example. Person been giving things away to poor people that needs it all the time. A reports came out that she has not been good to her workers. Instead of us saying, okay, let's take some action, let's put some checks and balances, let's make sure that you have a union for your workers, let's change the structure, let's make sure that you go and get some 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 training on how to treat your workers and understand the difference between the power of the presenter and the people under you. No, we decided to cut her out and send her to Australia. You gotta slow down a little bit. Not everything needs to be cut off. What makes us better than any other, extremist organizations that want to cut anyone off? Maybe like my ideas are revolutionary, but like ask someone that has seen shit. Hey. Our protest models needs adjustments. No comment. Until I go somewhere else, I'll comment on that. Someone says, please say something about the UAE preference for Israel protection over Saudi Arabia. That's really confusing for me at this point, right? Why is the UAE so stubborn on its relationship with Israel? And if you don't understand the UAE's complicated relationship with the Muslim Brotherhood, then you don't understand their fear of all Islamic ideology has, they have become themselves Islamophobic in so many ways against not Islam, but against Islamic organizations that are politically run. Not only because they are easy to become an authoritarian regime, they have the sensitivity of the Arab Spring. They have the sensitivity of seeing the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. Muslim Brotherhood has tried to create unrest in the uh, Gulf states many times. And at this point, uh, for UAE, if anything, the Muslim Brotherhood is a terrorist organization. So disconnecting from any and all types of forms of peace, which means also not being so close to Turkey, because Turkey is so close to the Turkiya is close to the Muslim Brotherhood, and Egypt is so close to the Muslim. With some Egyptian personalities are very not Egypt itself. Very Egypt had the Muslim Brotherhood originated in Egypt, but Egypt also has their own complicated history with the Muslim Brotherhood, where the Muslim Brotherhood were the reason that Anwar al-Sadat got assassinated after he signed the peace talks with Israel. So all of the actions that you see done by the UAE, it has to do with directly their fear from the Muslim Brotherhood and how they're tired of, Saudi government being in control of everything. Someone says, is that like being a Christian, but you are not a Christian nationalist? Somewhat, somewhat, not exactly, because this is the government saying you can be a nationalist, a UAE nationalist, but your loyalty is to us, not to a political organization that is influenced by foreign parties. Also, the Muslim Brotherhood is the same type of organization that would essentially brew some of the conversation that the leadership of the UAE are infidels, and these infidels need to, be taken out of power or have a revolution or get assassinated and so on and so forth. So they hear that type of conversations and they pay attention to it. They don't want to be a target by these people, so they turned 100% against them, become more hawkish. Nation of Islam is not Islam. They're different than Islam, and that was very prevalent when Malcolm X went to Saudi Arabia to do his Hajj or Umrah, I forgot, and he was informed that Nation of Islam was different than the actual Islam, and he converted to the Saudist type of Islam, the Wahhabist ideology. And when he returned to the United States, the Nation of Islam is the same organization that assassinated him. Now, there's some papers that say that the CIA or FBI might have assisted in that, but I'm not sure exactly the details on that. Any other questions, you guys? We have passed the 1 hour mark, or close to it, I guess, since we didn't have our show until like 9:15. While you're here, why don't you hit the subscribe button if you're coming in for the first time? My name is Wajeeh Lion. I'm an international human rights activist and a geopolitical analyst. I am from Saudi Arabia. I specialize in anti-terrorism and specialize in extremist ideology. Grew up in a Islamic cult where I was asked to become a religious fighter. And fortunately for you guys, I'm not. I'm an atheist. I fight these extremist ideologies by teaching the right techniques of how to fight that without adding more fuel to the fire. It is very easy to be retaliatory. It's very easy to once you get slapped to slap and punch back. But sometime choosing when to act is smarter. Choosing how to act is more powerful. And our response should be measured that way, especially when we are thinking about our future of the country, especially when we are thinking about our society. Is if you see someone not taking the right actions, punishing them may not be the best solution, but helping rehabilitate them and helping them finding the right path is a lot of people like you think of this almost as if it is missionary work. Have you ever met a missionary, whether it's Muslim, Christian, rabbi? Rabbis don't convince people to become Jews. I met a rabbi and he's like, "Don't become Jewish." I was surprised, but when I meet missionaries and you don't have the right idea that they are trying to preach, they sit down with you with a smile. They sit down with you knowing that you might hate their faith, but they are sitting down with you with the hopes and the faith that their goodwill, their amazing treatment toward you, their smile, the way that they're not calling you an infidel, the way that they're not calling you an idiot, the way they're not calling you, the way they're talking to you makes you more receptive to the message that they're sending. You may call it manipulation, but it's human interaction. You treating someone nicely when they are treating you badly all of a sudden makes them go, "What am I doing? Who's the bad guy here? Who's the bad guy here?" Yes, when you go to protest, you can be as mad as pissed off uh, as you work as you want. You're at a protest, but meeting people on the street, having one-on-one conversation, "I got you" doesn't work. "I got you" makes them more in holding their ideology. When there's a child and that child is holding your phone, if you don't give them something in order to take that back, they're never going to give it to you. And I don't have any kids. That's what I was taught when I was dealing with kids as a child. I am the oldest of five. The youngest sibling between me is 18 years. When you are dealing with someone, give them something to take something back. In Arabic, we say you don't even negotiate until you feed them. Fill your belly. If you fill their bellies, their ears open. There's always something that you need to give in first. Whether it's a smile, whether it's an open house, whether it's a welcome hug, whether it's understanding. I hope we learn from that. Change comes within. We change ourselves first, and then change comes in our society one by one. You don't see what you like, you become the difference. Thank you so much, all. Appreciate your questions. Appreciate tuning in. Be good to one another. Love each other, even with the differences. Don't wish harm on one another because that's not going to help your society. Um, know that this war is not right or left war, it's a classist war. The rich wants to be richer, wants us to be poorer, and they are doing amazing and they're winning at it. Just remember that even people in cults could be convinced to leave. And understand that when people are in cults, talking rationally doesn't work because cults systematically destroy your ability for having critical thinking. That's why when I was telling you, having that emotional connection with someone that you disagree with is what brings that difference in that argument. You're not talking to people who are going to talk everything from their brains. They're going to talk from their hearts. In Arabic, another saying, the last thing I will tell you, speak a language I understand, you speak to my mind. Speak my native tongue, you speak to my heart. Understand the native tongue of each individual person. That doesn't need to be, I'm not necessarily like talking about the word English or the word Arabic. That's what it was meant to be, like the saying was meant for originally. But the native tongue, if you think about it, goes way beyond just the language that you speak. It's the culture, the attitude, the environment. Anyways, maybe I will leave you for something to think about for the rest of the day. Um, Thank you for tuning in. Like, subscribe, and share. If you're watching this on YouTube, you're watching a recording. Please comment, leave a subscribe, click the bell icon so you could get the latest notification. And come to Substack and subscribe to Substack. Subscribing on Substack is free. If you cannot afford becoming a premium member, send me a message on the DM, or I will put a message soon asking who wants to become a premium member on the house, and you'll get a premium member on the house. If you can afford to become a premium member, your help goes way more than you think. It pays for the bills, keeps the lights on, so we could do this full time, so you don't have to. And as I like to say, مع السلامة, bye bye, بالإنجليزي goodbye. In Arabic, what it means is basically peace be upon you, goodbye. And in English, it's called goodbye. We'll see you later.